Time to shine today. Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and everything in life is a negotiation. I'm not even going to try to talk to you about negotiation when I have my guest Kwame Christian on here, because he's forgot more about negotiating than I probably ever have. And you're talking to a guy that's been negotiating real estate contracts for 22 years. But I am so stoked that I get to sit here and listen to my guy who has a Caribbean. He's from the Caribbean, and you know that I live here in South Florida, and I like to make my way over to the islands quite a bit. But he's my homeboy from the Midwest. I'm from Michigan, as a lot of people know. He's here in Columbus, Ohio area, and it's just cool because he's got this little accent of the Caribbean, but the man is a Midwest. The guy hunts, fishes, does it all. But Kwame Christian is the director of American Negotiation Institute, where he conducts negotiation and conflict management workshops around the country. As an attorney, which I forgot to mention that he is an attorney, which we all know we think of attorneys. I'm kidding, Kwame, but no, as an attorney and mediator with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, a Master of Public Policy, and a law degree, Kwame brings a unique multidisciplinary approach to making difficult conversations easier. So without further ado, Kwame, I'm going to have you come on, introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Oh, wow. I like that the way you snuck that in. Man, I guess I should stay in I should stay on brand. Now it's blue.
Blue?
But of course, if I have to pick my favorite color combo, I have to say scarlet and gray.
I was
I'm a
just going to
Buckeye
say, was
through and
it
through.
like blue as in maize and blue?
Never.
Me neither. I'm a Spartan, dude. I'm a Spartan. So
okay, there we go. We are united in our
right.
approach toward the
You
Wolverines.
hate the blue flu. I got you
right.
though. No, I love it. I love it. So let's get to the origins. I mean, your family's from the Caribbean, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're a Midwestern boy. But let's get to the origins of Kwame and brought him up into maybe education through law school, and then we'll get into the A&I.
Yeah, so I went to OSU, so I call myself a triple Buckeye. So I love psychology. That'll probably come out in this interview
Sure.
too. So I love psychology. My undergrad's in psych, and then I went to law school, earned my law degree and my Master of Public Policy, both from OSU.
Wow.
And so originally, Scott, I wanted to be a politician, and thankfully, as I learned more about politics, I said. There's no way I'm doing this to myself or my family. These people are crazy. I'm out of here. And so, but I really enjoyed negotiation. I stumbled upon it. It was the first time I saw psychology being used for a business or legal purpose. And so I said, for whatever it is I do, this needs to be a part of it, because I'm a recovering people pleaser. And when I learned about negotiation, it taught me that this is a skill that can be learned. I can get better at this. And so now when I teach negotiation and conflict resolution trainings for different companies and for leaders, I really start from the inside out, helping people to find that confidence in conflict and then give them the higher level skills so they can negotiate more effectively.
Gotcha. What was that you just said about conflict? You said get the skills of, say that again.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
helping them to find confidence in conflict. And so that's me staying on brand, of course, because the TED Talk's named Finding Confidence in Conflict, and the book is named Finding Confidence in Conflict. And Scott, the reason I say that is because when I surveyed my audience to figure out what it is they wanted me to say in my podcast, Negotiate Anything, and my trainings, I'm asking, what are the key things, your main concerns? And the two words that kept on coming up was confidence and conflict.
Love
They
it.
are lacking the confidence, and they are particularly afraid of conflict. And so that's really my approach, helping people from the inside out so you can be more assured and overcome those psychological and emotional barriers.
Sure.
And then once we get to that point where we're having those high level negotiations, now we can bring in those skills too.
I love it. So, Kwame, what makes a great negotiator?
Empathy. Empathy is a big one. And people are afraid of empathy. People think that empathy is a concession, but it's really a necessary part of persuasion. And what we need to do in order to empathize is be curious. And so my approach, my framework that I use in conflict resolution as my base is called the compassionate curiosity framework, where we're first acknowledging and validating emotions, getting curious with compassion, and then engaging in joint problem solving. And when we take the time to empathize and learn from the other side, it puts us in a position to persuade at a higher level.
Wow, that's fantastic. So, when you're bringing people in, they're looking to hire you to help with their negotiating skills. what is maybe your secret sauce, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of it, to help them find their blind spot in negotiating?
Yeah, well, the thing that's tough is that when I'm working with a large group, different people have different needs. So I always survey them to see what those commonalities are. And the funny thing, Scott, is that everybody struggles with emotions. It's either
Sure.
managing their own emotions or managing the emotions of others. And so that's the beauty of the framework. That's why it's designed that way, to address those emotions. Because the
Wow.
reality is, when you label and identify emotions by using terms like "it sounds like" or "it seems like," and then we just validate it by saying it makes sense. I don't necessarily agree with you. I'm not condoning the behavior, but I'm acknowledging that given your perspective, it makes sense that you feel this way. Doing that repeatedly until the emotions goes down is the best way to get to that point where you can have higher level dialogue. And the reality is, when it's our conversations with our kids, our spouses, or even negotiations at work, a lot of times we don't even get to that higher level dialogue because we're messing up in the emotion side.
Sure.
And we don't manage that effectively. So I will always want to start there.
Let's dig a little bit on labeling emotions. Talk to me about that, because I understand what identifying them is, but
Mhm.
labeling, some people can take that are might be listening to me, and like label is a judgment in a sense, or let's dig a little bit deeper on the labeling emotions.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to have a non-judgmental label. It's just a simple observation. And so, for example, one that's really easy to go to and it's safe because it's not an offensive label is, it seems like you're really frustrated right now, or it
Hmm.
sounds like this situation has made you really frustrated, right? Everybody's been frustrated. That's not a bad thing. And the thing is, this is the reason why it works. When you are really emotional, it's your amygdala, the limbic system, the part of your brain that produces those emotions, right? And then there's another part of your brain, the frontal lobe, and this is where you have your higher level thinking, but it's an antagonistic relationship. If you're highly emotional, you're not thinking very logically. And if you're thinking very logically, you're most likely not highly emotional. And so the reason this works is that it's taken again from psychology. What people do is they call it affect labeling. So what we're
Hmm.
doing is we're labeling the emotion. And in therapy, they do this with their clients and it calms them down, because in order to accept or reject the label, they have to think logically about it. And the part of the brain that identifies and those emotions is called and you don't need to know this at all, but it's called the ventral medial prefrontal cortex.
Yeah,
And so they
prefrontal
have to,
cortex, right?
yeah, so they have to think in that frontal lobe in order to see, yes, you're right or you're wrong.
Wow, that's amazing. So if I'm out at a networking event, which we're allowed to do here in South Florida, regardless of what you see on TV, we're out, we're networking, we're wearing masks, social distancing, because we're in like day 9,820 of the quarantine right now. But if I'm out networking, maybe pressing a little flesh, talking to some people, what kind of things are people saying that would make me say that they're a good prospect, contact, connection for the ANI, the American Negotiation Institute?
Oh yeah, I mean, when it comes to it, we're trying to work with companies and organizations, and so I like working with people who have to work with people. That's the beautiful thing, Scott, because we've worked with nonprofits who are trying to, do some good work in the community. We've worked with Fortune 500 companies. We've worked with the Army, and they're negotiating weapons systems
Wow.
and things like that, and military contractors. And the thing is, that's why I named the podcast "Negotiate Anything,"
Sure.
because anybody, whether it's somebody who's more transactional, they might be a lawyer, they might be in sales, they understand that they're going through these transactional interactions, but
Sure.
also leaders, people who are leading teams, they have to manage conflict in their teams. You might be on a team, you have to
Right.
manage conflict in between the people who are on your level and figure out where people are best positions. And so whenever you're in a position where you are interacting at a high level with people, I think that's where we can come in and add value.
Love that. Love that. Everybody needs it. What's funny is I learned that like kids are the best negotiators.
Yes.
When you're going through that, I mean, supermarkets do it right where they put that candy in that aisle, right? So that
Hmm.
I'm thinking back to your emotions and labeling and stuff like that, and that you start so young of being a great negotiator, right? Why does it go away?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's self-awareness. That's the thing. Self-awareness gives and it taketh away.
Right,
you know?
right,
And the thing is, we become really sensitive about what people think about us. When we are children, we're extremely egocentric.
right.
This is what I want. period.
Right.
Okay, how can I get that? Yeah, I'm going to ask, and I'm not going to stop
Sure.
asking, right? But then as we get older, we start to consider the people around us, not just consider them, but also consider what they think about us. And we are very, very afraid of rejection. And so one of the biggest things I see is that people will not ask for what they want because they're afraid
Right.
of being rejected.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic answer. That's what I was hoping to hear. Do you think a lot of it has to do with our programming as we're raised? Because I've heard and I saw stats that a kid is told no by the time he's 14 years old, like an average of 135,000 times.
That's incredible.
So you think that has something to do with the programming that we're brought up, and then what you do at A&I is kind of maybe strip away that programming in a sense and help them with the right tools to level up their negotiation?
Yes. Yeah. So think about it, Scott. It's often difficult to see where our culture begins and we end. Like, what's the difference between me and what I was taught? And so we have to, you're right, we have to strip it down to figure out what I really want out of life. And culture plays a big role in it. So you think about a lot of people here in the Midwest, you're taught to be polite and everything. You're taught to be nice and generous and friendly. And a lot of times people take it to the next level and say, yeah, but don't be greedy. And sometimes we misinterpret greediness with asking for what we want. Those aren't the same things. And so one of my recent guests on the podcast, she was talking about the negotiation culture of India. And the beauty of this is that when we have we try to have a diverse set of guests, racially, gender wise, experience, like people who are relationship therapists, people who are transactional negotiators. Because the reality is everybody has something to add to the dialogue. And so when she came on the show and she was talking about the negotiation culture of India, she was saying, everybody negotiates. It's really not even a choice. We're going to negotiate, and we will ask you questions that you as Americans will find very invasive. And so
they do.
Yeah,
I do. I've been a real estate broker for 22 years, and it's some of my best clients, but toughest clients are Indian people. And I love it because I've learned so much from them because they just ask. And they're not afraid. What's the worst thing someone can say is no. That's in any negotiation with real estate, Kwame. It's, you send an offer in and they can either accept it, reject it, or counter it. I mean, there's only three things. It's dumbed down so much, but people want to make it this whole crazy system. So when you're working with, maybe a company or individual, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Yeah. What's the long-term goal? And so I end up asking them this question, and then they sit back and they say, that's a really great question. Because a lot of times we think too tactically. When you think about negotiations in a micro sense, we're just saying, what do I need to do right now to get what I want? And we don't think about the big picture. What about the relationship? What about the context of my whole career? How does this fit into that? And so then I ask them that question because they just think, oh, I'm in procurement, I need a negotiation training. Oh, I'm in sales, I need a good negotiation training. What is your main concern? What is your team dealing with? After this is done, what's the transformation you hope to see? And they don't think about that. And so when I ask that question, it changes the way that we approach the training, because I try to customize every training for every client, because everybody's different.
Everybody is. Yeah. So let's come clean here. Tell me about a negotiation fail on your part. Give me an example.
Yeah. You know what? And here's the thing, Scott. If you ask a negotiator and they don't have an answer for that, then they're probably not they're not very good.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. You have to have some L's. Yeah. And the one that I think about the most is it's actually a mediation. So I mediate. And so one of the things that happened is there was a mediation. We were all wrapped up. We just needed to sign the agreement. And one of the parties asked, hey, what's the interest rate? Because it was a situation where they weren't making the payments and they came to a deal where there's going to be monthly payments, installments, and then there has to be an interest rate.
Wow.
And oh my gosh, the other side said the interest rate is 24% per year. And I said, wow. You
said that at the table?
I said, I made that sound. He's like, the guy's like, hey, no commentary. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was genuinely taken off. I was caught off guard.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
But
God.
clearly as a third party neutral, I cannot
You can't do
emote
that.
in that way, right? But I was so caught off guard because we were all done. My guard was down and
Right.
everybody was signing, and it was just a little passing comment. And it threw me all the way off. Thankfully, we still got it done. But yeah, that was a bad one.
Love it. Thank you for being transparent. That is awesome. That is awesome, man. All I can think about with negotiation, mediation is the movie Wedding Crashers. I don't know if you ever saw where they're sitting there at the table with I think it was actually Dwight Yoakam and Rebecca De Mornay, and just watching them go off and then bringing them all back together. But I don't even know why my mind went there, but that's what I thought about when you're sitting there at the table going, that's awesome. Right. So have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
It's been a while.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Let's get our DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the 18-year-old Kwame. What kind of knowledge nuggets, we call them knowledge nuggets here at Time to Shine today, what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on that Kwame to help him maybe shorten his learning curve, level up, and blast through maybe a little quicker?
Yeah, what I would say is this: take control of your education.
Okay.
Because with my Caribbean parents, my mom has a PhD in nutrition. She was a professor. My dad is a surgeon. And so they were always about education. Learn, get all these degrees, get all these degrees. The focus was always, though, get the degrees from an institution. Now, post law school, I've recognized that I've learned so much more through self-education than I ever did through school.
Right.
I try to read a book a week. And every time I finish a book, the way that I know it was a good book is if I feel kind of dumb afterwards, where I say to myself, how did I navigate this world without this knowledge that I just received here? Wow. That's crazy, you know? Right. And so I want to have that level of revelatory experiences every week after week. And you know, when you're in school, you're not always getting that. You're being taught what other people want you to think. And it's not always specifically tailored to what it is you want to achieve. Right. And so I would have tried to instill that reading habit earlier, because I think about the incredible leaps that I make week to week now as an adult, just because I'm taking control of my education.
Wow. And you hear that, Squad? He's not talking about the formal education that he's taking control of. I mean, you get a great degree from an institution if that's your path, but you know, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers, period. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Kwame obviously is the epitome of that, because he's not only leading a company that works with a Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, but he's educating himself every day. That's fantastic. Kwame, how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. How do you want that dash remembered? Maybe your epitaph, your legacy.
Yeah, it's simple. I want people to say he changed the world. And the way that I look at the world is I believe that the best things in life are on the other side of difficult conversations. So my goal is to help to make these difficult conversations easier.
Wow. You know what's funny with you is that I look at you and I'm like, this guy's doing so much, and you're like me with, you're a go-giver, you know, you're giving. But like when you and I look back, and I'm quite a bit older than you, but when you and I look back, you know, our techniques are going to be so outdated, but mattered. Just like the B-2 bomber in 1942 that we won the World War II with, or whatever, 1948, whatever year that was, that we won the war with. You know, like that's outdated. You never see, but it was necessary. You are somebody that's doing something necessary now that's consistently evolving. But I think you're the kind that wants to look back and go, man, what I did isn't even relevant anymore, but it's the reason why we're here. Am I saying that right?
Absolutely. And think about how exciting that is, because we all stand on the shoulders of the people behind us,
exactly.
You know, the people who came before us. And you think about something like medicine, how medicine is rapidly improving every year.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy every single year. And you think about the doctors in the day who might have used you know, leeches or something like that, right? They were trying their best. They were trying their best.
What they had,
And if we didn't have those people willing to try and experiment and learn new things, then we wouldn't be where we are today. And so I think people really need to take the steps to get out there and get their message out there, because even if you're wrong, you're moving the conversation forward.
Right. Absolutely. Kwame, what's 3 things you can't live without?
I would have to say, let's just make it really general and say my iPhone. That's big
Okay.
because that I always do audiobooks. And so I listen in triple speed and then I take notes on the audiobooks and then review the notes. So
Right.
that is like my method of education.
Sure.
And then I would say now in COVID world, it has to be the laptop too. I mean, that's our,
All right. One thing non-electronic.
non-electronic. Oh, now we're getting fun. Can't live without the gym, man.
There you go.
Can't live without
Love
the
it.
gym.
Love
Every
it.
morning, 5 a.m. in there, blowing off steam. I mean, it's almost like a religious experience.
It is,
You know,
isn't
you
it?
put in
Get
you
it
put in the
done.
music and you get it in, get it done. And I
Right.
feel like you build that momentum throughout the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll stick with books in general.
There you go.
And then, man, a third one, I would say, I have to say, family, friends. They keep
What's
me
your
humble.
cheat meal, man?
Oh, my cheat meal right now in the fall, it's pumpkin loaf.
My man.
Man, it is a disease at this point. I mean, that thing is, I look at the nutrition facts and it's horrible. And I eat about half of one like an entire weekend. And every weekend I say, Kwame, you can't do this again. And then next weekend I'm doing it again.
Weekend you're doing it. I love it. I love it. So as we wind things down just a little bit, I'm going to do our leveling up lightning round. We got 5 or 6 questions. You and I could talk an hour on each one of these topics or questions, but you got 5 seconds with no explanations, and all of them can be answered that way. You ready to rock?
Let's
all right,
do it.
Let's level up. What's the best leveling up advice Kwame's ever received?
Oh, God. Keep leveling up. That's it. There's no
Keep
end.
Progressing. Love it.
There's no end.
Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Other than reading every day, I would just say it's outsourcing.
Love it.
Delegating to my team.
Love it. Other than your fantastic website over at the American Negotiation Institute, and of course, Time to Shine Today, that's my shameless plug. What's another website you go to level up?
LinkedIn.
There you go.
Always on LinkedIn.
We met there. Fantastic.
That's right.
So not what you're reading now or listening to now, not the flavor of the month. If I'm in my doldrums, not feeling it, you're like, Fergie, read this. What book is it?
First of all, I love that you called yourself Fergie. That's awesome. What would it be? I would say I'm feeling the 10X Rule right now by Grant Cardone.
GC. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
You know that purple devil face with the menacing smile.
All right, Kwame, what is your favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time or money to?
I would say most recently it's WELD. It's a local organization called Women for Economic and Leadership Development. I was on their board for a while. And this is a lightning round. Can't go on, but that's the organization.
Love it. So if you could be one age physically for the rest of your life, while still getting the knowledge and still being able to do it, like mine's 32. I'm almost 50. 32 is my jam. What age would you be?
See, it's funny. I just turned 32 last
stay
week.
there. Just say that.
I'm staying here.
There you go. I love it.
Because I thought we went down after 30, but I'm like, oh man, no.
Love it. So last question. What is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
70s.
Really?
70s.
Well, man, very cool.
Because I'm thinking American and Caribbean. That's Bob Marley's time too.
There you go. Love it. Love it. So how can we find you, Kwame?
Check me out on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. My promise is to get everybody a personal message once they connect with me. I'm trying to keep that promise as much as possible. It's taking longer. I'm like months behind now on LinkedIn, but I'm trying to keep it going. And connect with me, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then check out the podcast, Negotiate Anything.
I love it. I love it. I'm hoping I get an interview on there myself.
I was just about to invite you.
So tell us about the book, Finding Confidence in Conflict.
Yeah, so it's an Amazon bestseller, and it's something I'm really proud of because it's my unique approach. And so the first 50, 60 pages is all about helping people to overcome their mental and emotional and psychological barriers to being their best self. We all have them. So it helps you to uncover them and shows you how to overcome them. And then it gives you a very simple, powerful negotiation technique called the compassionate curiosity framework. And the cool thing about that framework is that it helps you to win not only the external negotiation, but also the internal negotiation as well. So
I
I'm
love
very
that.
proud of it.
That you should be, absolutely. And squad, what I'm going to do is anybody that makes the first comment on Kwame's LinkedIn post where we put up, or a Twitter post, or at the Time to Shine Today Facebook page, anyone that makes a comment that's constructive, I would like to purchase one of Kwame's books, and I'm going to have it personally made out to you from Kwame, and he'll mail it out to you. So that's my gift to you. Finding Confidence in Conflict, How to Negotiate Anything and Live Your Best Life. Fantastic read. You must pick it up. So Kwame, what is your definition of a life well lived?
When you look back and you have few regrets, you're always going to have regrets,
Sure.
but few regrets.
Love it. Few regrets. So squad, you just got a free masterclass with my really good friend Kwame here. He's a recovering people pleaser. He wrote the book Finding Confidence in Conflict. Make sure you pick that book up. He reminds us that empathy is not a concession. It's a necessary part of persuasion. Write that down. Empathy is not a concession. It's a necessary part of persuasion. Like we say at Time to Shine Today, get behind their eyeballs, see what they're thinking, read their posture, read their tone. Remember, empathy is key. So when you're labeling and identifying emotions, do it in a non-judgmental manner. And I will personally make an introduction to you and Kwame to help you level up your negotiation skills, because he wants to work with people who work with people that want to level up. You have to want to level up. He's going to tell you and remind you to take control of your education, not only institutional education, if that's your path, but always educate yourself, always progress, always evolve. Because I'll tell you what, I look in the mirror now, I'm almost 50 years old. It's not the same 28-year-old looking Scott. I wasn't as handsome as Kwame is now. You know what I'm saying? So, you always continue to evolve. He's going to be remembered as someone who changed the world. And he's looking back with no regrets, and he's taken advantage of every opportunity that's given to him. And hopefully this was a great opportunity for him. Kwame, thank you so much for coming on. You level up your health, you level up your wealth, you're leveling up everybody else. You're a fantastic negotiator. You're a fantastic person. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
Great day, my friend.